Hi Sag, welcome to your weekly messages. So this is going to be general guidance messages for this week. Okay, so if you want to book a personal, I've got a brand new website with amazing reads below. Okay, so let's get into what is the energies for Sag. Some years I think you're dealing with a kid who's got maybe challenging. So some years who've got kids, and maybe the kid is particularly challenging. But they're saying just give it time, you know. Don't try to understand it, or there could also be, I do get this as a very strong message for Sagittarius, that some of you are dealing with rent, so you're dealing with, maybe you've got kids and maybe there's a lot of pressure in terms of your bills, and you're worried about your child, you're worried about the future, there's something like that. But some of you have got some kind of young child, and I feel like this person, they're not in the best behaviour right now, but it's a time thing. Maybe they're going through something, maybe the young teenagers. I feel like it's a time thing. Okay. But I'm getting for Sagittarius, either you or somebody else is really, really struggling with keeping up with the basics. So in other words, they're really struggling with keeping up with rent and basic living costs. And I feel like this person is really worried because they've got kids. You know, if you end up homeless as a person, that's one thing, that's bad. But if you've got kids, and you know, so there's some kind of worry over a job, or losing your job, or being evicted, or something like that. The devil. Okay. So what is Sagittarius's energy this week, please? What is Sagittarius's energy this week? Eight of Cups. So the Eight of Cups can be where we're going through a hard trial. We feel like we're losing everything. There could also be a miscarriage, because this can be a miscarriage. The Eight of Cups is a person who feels like they're losing something that they've put a lot into, or they're losing someone. Okay, so energy for Sagittarius this week. Yeah, Six of Cups. So like I said, if you're a Sagittarius and maybe there's problems in a connection, I feel like this is a week to not amplify. The other side of the coin is not everybody's meant to travel the whole journey with us. Okay, some of you have got to make a break with the past. But I do get as well that some Sagittariuses, there's definitely a heavy test that's going on here. The Wheel of we feel like we're up against time. Nine of Cups reversed is we're not satisfied. There's a struggle here, there's a fear over losing your job, there's living paycheck to paycheck, there's a kind of, we're up against the clock in some kind of way. So there's many different messages. I would say for the Sagittarius is, I feel like there's been a loss. It could have been a literal loss, it could have been, like I said, a miscarriage, or it could have been the loss of someone in your life. And some of you might feel, because the Eight of Cups is pinnacles of our life where we feel like we'll never recover, but we do. Okay, you'll smile again, you'll recover. It might take some time. Time is coming up here. For those who right now the kids are quite challenging, or there's a child that's quite challenging, it's just a period of time. So what people tend to do, especially mothers, is if the child is being extra problematic, they give more. This is a time to step back, don't condone the behaviour, be supportive, and let time do its work. Okay, so I think this is difficult because some of you, it's kind of someone you used to be really close to. It feels like they're drifting away. But some of you, it'll come back together. Some of you, it's over. So the Eight of Cups is just, in other words, it's being grateful for what you shared and accepting it's over. Otherwise, we do cause ourselves great pain, because the Eight of Cups is often, it's over. What's lost is lost. And the more that we go back and try to recover, the worse it is. We have to just move forward. We have to move forward. Some of you, this is to do with a death. So this is to do with an actual loss. Okay, some of you, so I don't think this is for Sagittarius who are flying high right now. I think this reading is more for Sagittarius who are going through a hard time. But that's life, right? You go up, you go down. You know, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. But I think there's a strong reminder this week that it's a time thing. Things will get better. You just have to hold on, so to speak. And then we've got the Ten of Cups with the Six of Swords. So you got the child again. This could be some kind of divorce or some kind of breakup. And then we've got basically, there's problems, the child is involved, the child is in there. There could also be the devil in there. And we've talked a lot about people being involved in affairs. This could be some kind of affair that involves a child, okay? But this week, there's something in general for Sagittarius about feeling like you don't have enough time to fix a situation. I feel like there's a sense for Sagittarius that you're feeling out of control. You're feeling out of your depth. So if you're having problems in a job, if you're not able to make ends meet, there's a sense of feeling out of control. So what is a practical step that Sagittarius could take? The Four of Wands. So this is leaning on community. Some of you, this is asking for help. And I think we live in a time where people feel shame to ask for help. But sometimes you need to ask for help, and the right people will help you. And they won't hold it against you later. So some of you right now, the Four of Wands, some of you, it could be going to food banks, it could be seeking governmental support, it could be housing support or something. I feel there's a strong message for the Sagittarius who are struggling, which is instead of going into your emotions and panic, go into productivity. No one does that better than you. In other words, sit down calmly and think about, okay, how can I realistically fix my situation? Okay, so some of you I'm hearing as well that you're going through a hard time, but this is going to lead to some kind of new community. And I did see specifically YouTube, TikTok. So this is someone who rebuilds themselves. In other words, maybe right now you're just kind of in a job and you're struggling to make ends meet, and maybe you're losing that. But sometimes what God will do is, if our destiny is somewhere else, he'll just rip it. He doesn't care. Because remember, the construct we're living in is not God. We're not designed for this. That's why everyone's suffering. Because what we're actually living in is not God's intention, right? We're not supposed to eat out of supermarkets. We're not supposed to be in houses. Like, none of this is the construction. So you're having something pulled away from you, and it feels like pure survival. But there's also something here where you rebuild, and you're actually rebuilding so much better. But right now there is going to be the initial fear. There's going to be this is the place I live, like, I need my job. So I would say Sagittarius is being tested in some way. Also, I think you need to learn the lesson that strangers will often help you more than your own family. And I'm not saying always, but I'm saying sometimes. I'm telling you now, the people who will support you and help you more will be random people you don't know. So this is leaning on the community in some way, asking for support in some way, building a community, being willing to be vulnerable. Okay. So this is just random messages. I don't think it's going to be for everyone, but that's what I'm getting. 9 of Pentacles. So there is a burning to the ground. There is some of you, again, it could just be you're in a job, and in the times we're in, there is a lot of dirty people who are using that against people. So there's a lot of bosses, and there's a lot of people who know the stress that people are under to keep the job, and they're weaponizing that, and they're putting a lot of pressure on people. There's almost like if you're in a down point right now and you feel like you won't recover, you're going to be the phoenix from the ashes. But there is also a sense here of that whatever test you're currently going through, even though it feels like you're losing everything, what you're going to gain on the other side is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You've got to remember how you're built. You're not like the vast majority of people. Sagittarius is different, but you do need to, like I said, it's natural if a way of life comes to it. It's like, so the other day I was like sleeping and I woke up and some woman was screaming, right? And she'd lost a family member. And it is that, that woman went out that day, she went to a job and she came back and a family member was dead. And I was asleep and I woke up to the screaming, so I thought there was like fighting or something going on. But that really sunk into me. I was like, life is like that. It's like we get up, we go about our life, we do the same things, we take things for granted, and then boom, it's just a split moment. So I do think some of you Sagittariuses, it's divorces, children might be involved, it's deaths, but some of you it's more of a metaphor. In other words, right now you're being shaken, and it might feel like you're losing everything, but some of you is what you're going to build on the other side. I'm also getting people who, the 4 of Wands is community, and then this can be real estate, this can be, it can be people who like, they spend their whole life just in survival mode, and then something clicks within them, and they're like, you know, I'm just done surviving, I'm done with the fear of money, and so they put their head down, and they find a way to access money and build, and they end up like, boom. There's plenty of very successful people who was homeless, who had nothing. So I just say very strongly, don't let what's currently happening to you define you. And that can be hard, you know, they do say that, they say, it's when we're tested, we see who we really are. And that is very true. Anyone can be happy and peaceful when they're comfortable. But when, and I'm speaking from experience, but when you're really tested, you get to see who the fuck you are. And that's what's happening for you now. And some of yours, life is just what it is. Life is life, and life is death. And some things we can control, and some things we can't. So I feel like there's a strong message for Sagittarius this week. Instead of panicking, instead of flapping, you need to look at your personal circumstances. If you've lost someone, this is seeking support. It's seeking people who are nurturing and caring and kind. And because we also live in a world where people are expected to bounce back really quickly. Oh, you lost your family? Okay. Wasn't that a week ago? It's like, yeah, the person was with me my whole life, you know? So we live in that fast-paced world, and we live in that very desensitized world. So there's something where Sagittarius needs to seek the support of understanding, compassionate people. The other side of the coin is, I will definitely say that for the fear, some of yous right now, this boss who's putting pressure on you, this loss, whatever it is, one day you are going to look back and you are going to thank it. You're going to be like, namaste, you know, thank you. Because I think it's a blessing, it's something that's being sent by God. And right, again, not all things that we lose or change is easy. Sometimes it's painful. And I think sometimes as well, and I know this for me, we think it's the devil, but it's actually God. He's saving us in some way. He's saying, no, like, no, I didn't build you for that. No, you know, but he will do it very roughly. He will do it intensely. It's not easy, you know. So I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say in this message. I feel like it speaks for itself, and it's more of a general message. But I feel like there's a panic. And I feel like the other side of the coin is, when we're really being tested, that's the least place you want to be in. You've got to be confident, you've got to trust yourself, you've got to ground yourself, and you've got to think about, like, what is the next smart step to take, right? And then sometimes in the grief process or in the loss process, we have to just look after ourselves on a day-to-day basis so we can get through until the sun shines again. Things feel a bit brighter, things feel a bit easier, right? Because in moments of complete loss or overwhelm, that's where we can really shatter. So in those moments is where we seek the right support, and we take just one foot after the other, just one foot after the other. That's it. Okay. But I'm also getting, for the Sagittarius who, when it comes to like jobs or homes or stuff like this is going to be your blessing. It's your blessing. Like, what you'll build from this will be unimaginable, because it's when people are tested, it's when people are put under pressure, it's when people have the comfort zone stripped that they get to see who they really are. And a lot of people don't, unfortunately, for whatever reason, you know, but you're built for it. I feel like that's the message here. Knight of Cups. I'm getting some kind of breakup, some kind of separation. Some of you could be going through, you're going through a fundamental life change. This can be for Sagittarius who've been married for years, you've been in the same job for years. You're moving into the unknown, and the unknown is scary, right? Because if you've lived a certain way, that's all you know. But you need to trust yourself, okay? And I do think that whatever change Sagittarius is going through, it's the Wheel of Fortune came out upright. It's destiny. It's universal. It's God's will. It's God's plan. And your job is to trust, and that's it. And I know I used to be a coach who was speaking out my ass, and then life brought some real stuff. I've always been through a lot in my life, but let's just say then some real tests came, and I think there's a pride, you feel proud in yourself because you know you're not just someone who's speaking. You've been there, you've felt that fear, you've been tested in that way, and it doesn't matter what people say. But there's also something in you that when you put through what most people don't go through, you know you're built to survive, you know you can survive. And that's, it doesn't matter what people say, because you know. Because you've done it, you've been there, you've experienced it in real time. So some of us right now, there's a fear about this new journey, there's a fear about the unknown, but what it's going to do for you long term, it could not happen any other way. It cannot happen in any other way. And then some years, like I said, unfortunately, there is just life, and that's it. And life is dark and it's light and it's living and it's death and it's all of the reality. And some years are being, that's what you're going through. The loss of people, the loss of someone, the grief process. So for those who are in that this week or just feeling that, it's one foot after the other. It's day by day. It's not looking too far to the future, it's just day by day. And it's surrounding yourself with people who have retained the humanity. That's very important now. Because I think you're looking at a lot of people who, they'll call themselves human, but they're not human. To be a human is to have certain fundamental values, it's to represent certain things. And yes, I mean, they look human, but if you look at the behaviour, they're not human. They're detached, you know. So I feel like if you're in a period of suffering right now, be careful who you're connecting with, because if you put yourself around the right people, they'll carry you. They'll carry you, because that's what humans do. Real humans, they carry each other. They don't judge. They understand. So this is deep. I wasn't expecting this for you, but this might not be for every Sagittarius who's listening, but it's definitely for someone. So I hope that it was helpful. If you want to book your own personal, check it out below. Like the video and comment, and I'll start doing more Sag reads. I'll speak to you soon.